Join us.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You haven't used that one in a long time, Ralph. But it's Halloween, and we're all creepy and spooky here.
Spooky.
Exactly. We got Roman Jason instead of Roman Tony.
Halloween.
We got the Queen of Darkness in darkness.
As the floating thumb.
And we got John, who's corpus.
A faceless corptocracy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, folks, it's been a great Halloween. I've seen some interesting costumes out there. I took my daughter trick-or-treating and it was fun, as usual. But you know, it's always weird out there when you walk the streets of New York on Halloween.
Oh, absolutely.
My favorite costume I saw today was this little kid wearing like the Sonic. It was like a onesie, and then they were like running uphill at the.
I gotta say, I saw a lot of Marios and Sonics and Luigis and they're all doing the same thing, or jumping around and running around.
Yeah, I saw a kid as Flash running too. So I guess
I saw someone dressed as a sheep.
Wow.
Or something like, or a ram, maybe. I don't know. I liked it. I was interested.
I don't know. I feel like they avoid those here in the city, but I can't even say that because I've seen the weirdest things here in the city.
Oh yeah, I actually have a dream like future couple cosplay of doing Ellie and Grant from Jurassic Park 1.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
Oh yeah. And then Ellie has to carry a gigantic leaf everywhere, and then I just keep taking my glasses off at everything I see.
Oh my god.
You got to do the whole scene every time you show up somewhere.
Oh, every time. And then we convince a third person to dress as a Brachiosaurus
and just walk by. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even better, man. Somebody dressed as Godzilla and have them walk by.
Oh, perfect.
You ever see those costumes at conventions? They're so funny. The people with the way they move and stuff. It's like it's so funny.
Oh yeah, it's outrageous.
Costumes. I think a dinosaur venom before. Those are so funny. It's like a T-Rex, but it's like covered with the venom symbiote.
I saw a couple of those this year.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It was Venom this and Venom that and Venom bunnies and Venom.
I think one of the most complex costumes I ever made, it was for a Metro Con in Florida, and I dressed up as a full VFX makeup Hollywood prop replica of Nemesis from Resident Evil 3.
Wow.
And I had the full head and everything. It was my friend worked in at Tom Savini's university, and he built the head as a project, and then I bought it from him when he was done. And it was like, oh my god, just the boots and the leather. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right, it's July in Florida, so I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Well, at least you were taking.
But it was fun.
Stars.
Did you find any Jill Valentine and running around?
Did you find any Jill Valentines to run after? Stop.
No, I did chase after a group of colonial marines from Aliens, and they had that was funny. There's like 6 of them, and they had a newt with them, and they just all ran away.
That's when you know your costume was working.
Oh, absolutely. There's 2 different universes just clashing.
Dude, man, I still can't get over that stupid game. I even now I expect something to burst through the door.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I hated that game, man. I hated that game. You're running forever. I hated it.
Yeah.
Some people don't like the new version, but I liked it because it wasn't. I liked it because I wasn't dealing with nemesis, those tank controls.
Yeah.
I like the new one. People didn't like it, but I like the remake because just for that, I wasn't running after from nemesis all the freaking time with there's no weapons, there's no heal items. You're just running. Oh, man.
Oh yeah, I like the new one too. Just simply for the dodge. They gave me a dodge. I was like, thank God. That's all I need. Just something to feel, even if it does nothing, I feel safe.
You still have people,
man. The dodge helps you out because now you can actually, avoid that.
Oh yeah, and he still comes out of nowhere. He'll just drop from the ceiling.
It's still not an easy game, but at least it wasn't like just I didn't feel like throwing my controller out the window or something.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
You feel helpless in the original one, which I guess is the point. But it's terrible feeling.
Yo, I hate tank controls, man. I hate them. I do not miss them. And every now and then you have people that miss them. I get the point. They say that, like how you call it, like, yeah, like when you see a monster in real life, like, you don't run right away. You're scared. You don't know what to do. It was like, so I get that's why the tank controls. That's why some people like them. But I'm like, no, man. I just want to run. I get it. But,
what I've always wanted in a Resident Evil game is for them to give me a Resident Evil where you have unlimited ammo and you can just go through the game shooting everything. I'm like, that's what I want. I want to be able to just go through the game and shoot everything.
Well, that's what Operation Raccoon City felt like. Like you just go in with a team of 4 people with automatic weapons and just start mowing everything down.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Actually, that's a funny story. My friend Dave, circa like 2003, 2004, he wrote on the Capcom Resident Evil forum, and he posted this fan fiction about a Umbrella Corporation Special Forces unit going into Raccoon City the night of the apocalypse, essentially.
Right.
And they retrieve these objects, and they all have different personalities, and they're from different parts of the world, and they don't know who each other is because this is their first time working together. And then he was super proud of it, and he posted it. 6 years later, that game comes out, and it's a direct rip of his story from that forum. And he was fire pissed. Yeah. He was like, you literally took everything, and you didn't give me any credit whatsoever. Yeah. And it's probably still up. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's what I said. There's nothing you can do about that when that happens.
No. And it's their property too, so you can't even claim ownership of it because you use their character.
Yeah.
That's the bad thing about that stuff.
You can kind of be proud that you contributed to the universe, I guess, but
That's all he said. He's like, I don't want any money, I don't want anything. I just want credit. Just put my name in the credits somewhere. He just never got a response.
That is the problem. They can't put you in the credits without giving you money. That's the problem. So if they could, they maybe, I don't know.
Well, without working, if they actually do a contract with you where you sign the contract and you sign away your rights to get money.
And this was also before Twitter, so it was he couldn't even go viral even if he wanted. This was if you wanted to go viral, you either went viral on Tumblr or you went viral on CNN. That's how you went viral.
Or your message board got hot and everybody was reading the message board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I still remember those Tumblr days, man. Those are good days.
I'm blanking on her name, but I knew somebody that's in that game, Raccoon City. They did the character Tweed, but just the not the voice, but just the vocab. I'm blanking on her name, but like internet friends with her for years and years. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I'm blanking. I'm sorry. I can't.
You're okay.
No, I apologize to her.
I blank on names and people and things all the time.
Yeah. Whenever you blank, you got to pull the mask down, though, just that way it feels.
But she looks exactly like the character, they motion capture. She looks just like the character. The only thing is it's not her voice. It's the only thing. It's not her voice. So, but that's pretty. That
happens all the time. Look at poor Ray Parker. Wait, Ray Parker. What's his name? The Star Wars Darth
Maul.
Yeah, there you go. They didn't want his voice because his voice sounded like this. Oh man.
Oh my god.
So Tom, let's start this off. Why don't you tell the people who you are, what you do, all the good stuff. Go for it.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. Yeah, my name is John. I'm the creator, owner of No Dress Code, also known as ndc.exe. It's an original anime-based art clothing business, I guess, at this point, because we don't just make clothes anymore. We also make animation and comic books. And we're currently working on a pilot animation for an original series based on the characters in our show, or in our clothing line, I should say. And yeah, it's been working on it for about 6 years. Finally blew up about 2 years ago. And yeah, everybody seems to really enjoy the characters and the world that we're slowly kind of leaving out piecemeal over the last few months/years, and introducing people to the idea of the story and the characters.
I got to give you props because I've seen other clothing lines, other organizations who they want to go in this direction, and they never get there.
Yeah, it's hard, man, because you really have to have the capital to not do copyrighted material, and that is very, very tough, especially if you're used to making a lot of money on, like a Demon Slayer or an Inuyasha drop every 2 or 3 months. And to go full original is very difficult. You can ask around, like, Lewd Complex. I know Zombie Makeout Club does it. Zombie Makeout Club, I've spoken to him very frequently. He did the same thing. He was all fan art for years, and then finally committed to the Switch. And he told me about how difficult that was as well. But yeah, once you can get people to jump on board, it'll take a minute, but when they do, they really love it, and they love it more because it's theirs.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's like difficult as hell because we'll run into people, we'll talk to them, and then the goal is to make our own thing, and then you come back 10 years later, and they're like, the goal is to make our own thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's a conscious effort. It's really, really, really tough, and it was tough for me too. And it actually was spurred out of almost necessity, because the company that I started making clothing with, I did fan art in the first 2-3 years, and I submitted a bunch of fan art stuff, like Naruto, Vegeta, etc. And they were like, "We're not doing that. Like, we will not even make it. Like, we don't want any of that heat from Funimation at all." So I was like, well, okay. So back to the drawing board. And I started creating all original art because that was the only thing they would accept. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. And I basically took it as a creative challenge of like, can I get someone to fall in love with my character Ray as much as they love another character?
I gotta say, when we were there at Anime NYC and we saw your booth, you guys were doing an excellent job at actually getting your characters out there, getting your stuff out there, and I can see that the audience has hit with it.
Oh yeah, they seem to really enjoy it. Like I said, it's definitely a fraction of what it was when we did fan art stuff. Mm-hmm. But with the people we have, I love the analogy of Megadeth. When they first came out, Megadeth only sold 60,000 albums, but they owned 100% of those albums. So they talked about how they made actually more money by having 60,000 sales to a group of very tight-knit fans than they did when they went global and sold 12 million copies. And they actually made less money somehow by selling 12 million copies.
And that makes complete sense, because when the companies have your stuff, you're not really getting that much. Most bands make their money off of touring.
Absolutely. And that's kind of how we are. Like, we make a significant portion from conventions. We do a lot of convention only products, so that way you have to come to the convention to get it. And then we also, obviously, we do really well in Christmas and Thanksgiving time when people are buying gifts. And coincidentally, I learned this because I was a tattoo artist for several years. The other best holiday season to get people is April and tax return time.
Yeah, when they're getting their money, because that's when they got the extra cash. They're like, "Oh, I just got my tax return."
Absolutely. So yeah, that's the goal, man. I write the story with my brother-in-law, and the three main girls are based off of women in our lives that are very influential to us, and we kind of modeled and created the personalities of the characters based off of them as like an homage to them. And it's really funny because if we have a situation in the story where we're like, how would this character handle this? We just pose the situation to the real life person and go, if you were in this situation, what would you do? And typically their answers are so interesting, we just keep them. And sometimes they don't make sense in the storyline, so we got to adjust something. But for the most part, it's really nice having the real person that
Right.
is the character to ask the questions to, and it makes the writing process even more fun.
I gotta say, I love that as well. Anytime I have a character that's based off of somebody and the person knows, I like going to them, going, "Hey, so if this happened and this happened, what would you do?"
Yeah, oh, it's awesome because they're very interesting people in general.
Oh yeah,
So when you pose an interesting scenario to them, and you really get to watch like the gears turn and see how they would handle a situation like that, it's really fun. And it's almost like playing real life D&D.
yeah.
I wonder how that would work after years and years of writing the character. Like you'll feel like you know them so well, and then you'll ask the person, "Hey, what would you do?" He said, "I would do this," and I was like, "No, you wouldn't. I wouldn't."
Like, you have no idea what you would do in this situation. You don't even know right now.
How dare you?
And,
You would do that?
and I'm a little bit of I don't know the good metaphor, but I really like torturing my characters in stories, not in terms of pain and suffering, but in terms of moral decision. Um, like we just wrote last night a scenario where the main character Ray, her whole personality is that she is opposed to violence. But she's also very smart, and she can basically con her way in and out of anything that she wants. And there's a situation where she has a rival business that is kind of mad at her because she's doing so well, and they kind of confront her about it. And instead of crushing this person like she absolutely could, she instead gives them a bone and is like, "Here, like, you do this for me. I'm too busy." Obviously she's not, but it's like, "You take this, maybe this job will pay you well, and this and that and the other, and you'll feel better." And then she makes an ally with this person, and she always tells her crew, like, it's always better to make allies than enemies. And then cut to about 8 episodes later, the person that she gave the bone to is very confident now because they're not struggling anymore from the jobs that she gave them. And they ended up taking more jobs because their greed was insatiable, and she underestimated just how greedy this person was. And one of the jobs they took was human trafficking. And she ends up getting furious and almost killing this person because she cannot physically wrap her head around greed because she's a robot. She doesn't know what that feels like, what that emotion is.
Right.
So when she encounters this person who she just can't understand, she wants nothing but to just kill him, but she can't because she doesn't believe in that.
That would make sense. It's like, I don't understand this. You shouldn't be acting like this. But that's breaks it down to the basic understanding of people in general. When people do certain things, sometimes you sit there going, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, no, and that's the fun part is I felt like when I was a younger kid, I grew up in a world that had rules that only I followed in a way. And it always felt like nobody else was following the same rules that I did. Yeah, a lot of people can identify with that. And then so I made a character where the literal rules of the world don't make sense to her because the rules that she has established for herself are so well thought out and so surrounded by evidence and fact and reasoning. And then she goes up against a human who has none of those things, and she doesn't quite know how to comprehend it. And it really kind of frazzles her in a sense.
Actually, you can say I know both those types of people.
Yeah. It reminds me, if you ever took any kind of creative class, like art, writing, anything, creative. So a lot of times they'll give you the rules. You have to do this, and that, and you do this, and that. Everything you have to do. Someone who doesn't do any of that stuff gets a better grade. This is what you need to do. I'm like, but I followed the rules. I'm like, yeah, but
Yeah, every time. It's
yeah,
so frustrating because I grew up with pretty strict parents, so I definitely had rules that existed only for me. And it was always aggravating to see other people be like, I couldn't get away with that. Like, what the heck is that about? It just drove me nuts.
I'm a middle child. You feel like you can't get away with anything because
No.
the older child can do whatever because he's older, and then the little one, oh, he's so cute. He do whatever he wants.
Oh, yeah. He's adorable.
Yeah.
No, it's the worst. But no, I just love stories, man. I absolutely love storytelling. And my only rule with storytelling is if I do something in a story, it has to make sense. So I try to flesh out the characters as far as possible, like basically all the way that I can possibly do with background and thoughts and history. And then I just put that into practice when I write the character.
I can say you actually still go into this as the writing craft itself, So 'cause sometimes you get somebody who's like, it's just a comic. I'm like, no, it's still writing.
Oh yeah, like I just saw a thing about that the other day where this girl's she wrote a comic and her most popular character was a character that she put in as a one-off because she was running on a deadline and she didn't have an enemy for that episode. so she conceived the character and then threw him in, and people ended up loving him so much now they're like a constant character, and that gives me a level of anxiety that I cannot even rationally explain to you. Of like, oh my god, I'm on a deadline and I need a big bad for this episode, and I haven't thought of one yet. Like that kind of thing.
Well, you mentioned D&D, and this is right up that D&D alley because as a DM, what ends up happening is sometimes they get rid of your big bad, and then you got to create somebody on the spot, and they're like, oh my god, that guy was fantastic, he was so great. When are you gonna bring him back?
Yeah,
I mean, we see it all the time. Like like Steve Urkel, he was just a guest star. He just wound up taking over the whole show, and Popeye was a guest star on Timbo Theater, and it was around for like 10 years before he showed up, and then he just wound up being like the major character, breakout star, So it happens all the time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's all fun. It's just it's so much fun to create stories like that.
So you got to be careful because sometimes you throw a character in there and the audience loves them, and you're like, and then you kill them all for no reason,
Yeah. Well, that's where my like horribleness comes in. Is I love making people fall in love with characters and then killing them. But it's because you never see it coming. And if it's well thought out enough, it's even more impactful. And because I can't kill my main characters, I have to create characters that are basically like just embodiments of those characters, but in different ways. Like the middle character, Kit, that we have, she's the one that has the guns and the beret. She ends up befriending this guy because she has this really like hard nose, like same thing like I grew up with, like follow these rules, do this thing, militaristic, like no thought, just do kind of thing. And then this guy is like a surfer dude, kind of like, hey, what will be, man. The water's flowing, like whatever. And she can't wrap her head around it. She's like, because it turns out he's dying of a disease, and he claims to be this like what will be, like kind of person, but then he actively does things to thwart things that would hinder him, and she kind of calls him out on his BS, and she's like, you're full of it, like you actively do things, so you're not like go with the flow, you're not this like nonchalant person, you actually do care about this, like kind of thing. And they have this kind of philosophical discussion of like what it means to actually like have morals and how to handle life and how to let go of things that you can't control, because she can't let go of things that she can't control, and he doesn't control anything, so he just lets everything go. So it's really interesting to see how those two characters kind of talk to each other in that sense.
And that's a big dynamic there because they're both coming from totally different directions.
Absolutely, and it's really we have that conversation coming off the heels of a big fight, and my kind of challenge to me and my writing partner, it was like, well, how can we write a fight where they don't actually touch each other? They just fight with philosophy, but it still has the same impact as an actual fist fight. How do we do that? And I love coming up with those kind of hindrances all the time. Like episode 5, when we wrote it, I was like, before we even start writing a word of this episode, no villains and no conflict for the whole episode. What do we do? We actually came up with a really fun, fascinating like character episode of just character development and watching it. And we ended up creating a romance that episode. Like it's just all kinds of fun stuff that comes out of, I love giving myself kind of impairments when creating stories, because sometimes I feel like too much freedom makes me immobile in a sense. Mm-hmm. So I give myself rules because then it makes my creative juices flow because I have to think of ways around them.
I say that all the time here on the show. I like when people have hindrances, because the old Hollywood had a lot of hindrances, and that's why they created such great stuff. It's because they had to figure out ways around it.
Absolutely. It's the best way to create, in my opinion. With too much freedom actually creates nothing. You end up just having a bunch of fat, essentially.
I think if you have been doing the limited stuff for a long time, and then you get unlimited, I feel like you understand things better, so you're able to use unlimited better because you used to be limited. So now you understand the concept, and now you're going, okay, I can do this and I can't do that. But then at the same time, there's limitations you're putting to yourself because you understand that now there should be limits.
Absolutely. It's the Aladdin genie scenario. It's unlimited cosmic power, itty bitty living.
I mean, people talk about Hollywood today, how there's so many hindrances and people want inclusion, diversity, and things like that. You can still do all that stuff, everything they want, and still have a good story and still have a good product. Mm-hmm. But it seems more like people use that as an excuse to not have a good story and not have a good product. I mean, I think you can,
Yeah. Well, they try to let it carry, and you can't. Nothing carries a story like that. Unless you're writing a story specifically about that, if I remember the Titans, then it really, really matters that this character is black in 1973 in Virginia.
Right.
Like that's very important. But if it's a fantasy world, where essentially there is no concept of racism except from like dwarves to elves,
right,
then it really doesn't matter at all in the long run. It's just kind of a thing. Like in our story, we do that too. Like we in the history of the world that we created, there's a huge population of Middle Eastern and Arab people who end up boarding into this city that is predominantly white people. And over the course of 100 years, you get a lot of children that are basically mixed race, white and Arab people. And that is a factor in the city that we created, where it's actually, it's like so diverse in that sense of you have these very clashing cultures and the architecture and the languages that they speak in the city. And it really makes a difference when you round the corner and all of a sudden there's a Japanese sake bar. You're like, well, that's weird. Why is that there? And then, but that's there on purpose. It's there to stand out in a sense. So we created this whole city that's mainly based around like Middle Eastern architecture and Roman Mediterranean architecture, and it's splashed with this like 23rd century kind of architecture and technology.
That all seems fun and it makes perfect sense. It's annoying for me when I'm watching something or reading something and I can literally see you checking the boxes right in front of me. It's like, okay, we got that.
Oh yeah,
we got that. It's like, oh come on, man. Like, okay, we got.
Oh
that.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Story's got to come first, man. You could still check those boxes if you tell a good story.
A good story, yeah. But you got to keep the story, and then figure out how to put the other stuff.
I mean, like, and
sometimes
people
it's already
people
in
love
the
it.
story.
I mean, yeah.
Well, even if it's if it's just a situation, just hire the right actor for the job. You know what I mean? Like, if that actor happens to be black, hire him. If he's the best at the job, like a perfect example is what was that movie that just came out? I can't remember it now, but it was a situation just like that where it really like, Altered Carbon. It wasn't, that's not recent, but like Anthony Mackie, like he plays the character that could have been literally anybody, but because he's so good at acting, they casted him. Right. And then he ended up playing a character that has two characters, and one's a Japanese special forces guy, and the other one just happens to be a black guy. And it's like, you just hired two great actors to play that character. That's all you did.
Yeah.
Hey, Andrew,
happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, I gotta say you're right. You know, it just like it gets so frustrating now that, you know, it's instead of like just writing good stories, it's like we need to figure out how to make this concept or this thing that we want out there to be out there. And I'm like, well, if you wrote a good story, then, you know, that would happen.
Yeah. The story always has to come first. Always. It's a non-negotiable. Like, that's why we're taking our time, like, with this. We've been working out for 2 years now, the full fleshed out version of the background and the story. And it's just like, we are not putting any pressure on ourselves to hit any kind of deadlines except personal ones. And we're just seeing how far it goes, because once the story's done and it's like in concrete, that's when the real fun begins.
Exactly. You know, then you got the other side though. Like it's like, oh well, you know, this was never in comics. I'm like, which comics were you reading?
Yeah. It's like, what are we talking about?
But see, they did it right. It was about the story, and that's why you don't remember it, because it was about the story instead of whatever thing it was that you're trying to say that it wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, and I think the big reason that they're trying to do that is they're trying to hit an audience, right? You know, they check those boxes because they're like, okay, if we release in China, we should have a Chinese actor and yada yada yada, like on the cast list. But at the end of the day, if you look at some of the most successful movies of all time, they do not have a box. They were just such good stories that everyone connected with them. Like one that I just watched again recently was the original Jurassic Park. You know, that movie absolutely swept the world, especially children across the entire globe, in North America and Asia, everywhere. And it was just because it was an interesting story.
Right. I rewatched it last year, and I'm amazed that the special effects still look good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of movies from around that time, you look at special effects, like, you know, it's not as good as we could do today, but no, it's right.
Yeah. And those dialogue moments are incredible. Like the writing of these characters and their personalities and their opinions and their perception of life and how this park should exist is really what carries it. And you don't think about it, because right when it's time to think about it, the dinosaurs show up.
Exactly.
And then it becomes a horror film.
It's so funny though, because, you know, you sit there and you look at all this stuff and you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, why are we trying to do something different? But I think it's Hollywood. They come to this point now where they look at us and they go, they're gonna buy whatever we put out there, and then they get upset when we don't buy whatever they put out there.
They blame the fans. That's great. Yeah, blame people who give us money. It's your fault. Why? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like we're probably about to lose. We're probably about to lose Lionsgate because they can't get their crap together and make a movie that doesn't cost $500 million, that has to make $5 billion to make a profit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that bugs me out. Then when somebody comes along like Ryan Reynolds and he does the movie the way that we want him to do it, the studio goes, it's just a fluke. That's not what the audience really wants.
Every time.
But look at that movie. Like, Deadpool's like openly pansexual. There's a lesbian couple there. Does anybody care? No, because it's a good movie. People won't care,
Yeah.
you know, when the stuff is
Oh,
good. You do whatever you want. Just got to tell a good
It's
story.
yeah.
absolutely, it's hilarious. Like I don't know, they harp on that stuff quite a bit, and it's really frustrating to just see that that's the focus. It has nothing to do with what it is or what it means. It's
Right.
just, why is that the focus in storytelling?
Exactly.
No.
It's just tell a good story, tell something interesting,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
just do it.
make us care about your character, and we'll be behind them. You know, no matter who they are, what they are, just make us care about your character, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, make
Yeah.
them struggle, make them interesting, make them flawed, and you can identify with them
That is
without
another.
question.
That is another problem. Like we'll have these characters. What was like their last Ant-Man movie? Well, you have this that Casey girl. Well, she's smarter than she's smarter than Hank Pym. She's smarter than her father. Never went to school or anything. Just smarter than him. And she's an activist. And she's just this perfect person. You know, she just came out of the brain perfect. And she's just, oh my gosh, man. We see that all
Yeah.
the time. No,
Yeah.
man. No.
Oh
No,
yeah,
man. She's calling out Ant-Man for being a bad what? For being a bad hero? What? Ant-Man saved the world. It's crazy. Like, you know, it's crazy. You know,
no,
like
but
we're
he's
just
an
supposed to
idiot.
like
He's a
somebody.
goofball.
We're just gonna like somebody right out the gate. No, man. Just, you know, make us care about them. Don't introduce them like they're this perfect person. You know, they do that all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, because nothing is more interesting than watching someone overcome a struggle, no matter what. No matter who they are or what they're doing, overcoming a struggle is so fascinating. Like one of my favorite movies of all time. I just talked about this with somebody. It's such a like nothing movie, but it's October Sky. Have you guys ever watched this movie before?
I've never seen it.
Never seen it. I would strongly recommend it. It's a movie that takes place in the late 60s at the start of the space program. It's four high school kids in Southern Virginia, coal mining town, and they basically have no way of getting out of this town. Like, it's just a trap. It's just, you go to the coal mine, you die of lung cancer, your son goes to the coal mine, he dies of lung cancer, rinse, cycle, repeat for generations. And that's just what they do. And they've just accepted that there's no way to get out, and that's like your prison. And then one of them falls in love with rockets, and they go, maybe if we get smart enough to figure out how rockets work, we could get a scholarship and get out of here. And that is literally the whole movie, is four kids trying to solve rocket science and get a science scholarship to get out of their hometown. And it is one of the most compelling and interesting movies I have ever watched in my life. And it's just a really simple premise.
Your pitch is why I didn't watch that movie. I was like, what? I don't know, but I'll check it out though. If you say it's good.
Yeah.
But,
well, I also personally identify with it because I grew up in a.
I saw that on Netflix and I saw that description. I was like, yeah, no, that's.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's totally whack for sure. Especially if you're like, I'm bored. What am I gonna watch? But it really is fascinating to see this kid who struggles in school, who can't even focus and pay attention, and then all of a sudden he's doing advanced trigonometry and like actually taught himself how to do it because it's 1968 and you can't just learn, you can't just watch a video on how to do trigonometry.
That's true.
And
you can now.
And it's really cool because it takes place over the course of a full year. So you get to see these kids from this beginning of the year to this end of the year and what happens. And I personally identify that because I grew up in a steel town. So it's literally the same thing except steel instead of coal for me. So it's a personal connection in that way too, where there's a lot of people that do the same thing. They're like, yep, I grew up, I go in the steel, I lose a couple fingers, and that's just how my life's gonna go. Like
and
that kind of thing.
Is agreeing with you. He's like, yeah, as October Sky, based on true events. The main dude literally makes military weapons. One is a rancher. But it's funny that you're saying all this because and what you're both saying, you and Tony are saying, I feel like sometimes the studio doesn't know how to explain their movies.
But what
Absolutely.
you said about Silver Sky, that's a story that always works. Hey, you're supposed to do this. No, I'm going to do that. That story
Yeah,
always works.
exactly.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
story always works. Like, no, you have to be a doctor. No, I want to be an
That's
actor.
not how they explain it, though.
Yeah, non-conformity is one of the most powerful ways to get someone to like your story.
Right, yeah.
Completely.
It's perfect because nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to toe the line. Nobody wants to do what their parents say. Nobody wants to follow this rigid form of like growing up. And if anytime you can tell a story like that, people fall in love with it.
I think another thing that bugs me out, you guys were just talking about it, is the whole concept of, these characters are a certain way. They know already that these characters are supposed to be a certain way, and then those characters work because all their characters are anti-heroes. So they kind of understand that these characters have to be complex, and they have to be this, and they have to be that. So they already know that because all their characters are anti-heroes, yet at the same time, they're not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But then it's fun to see a character that isn't an anti-hero, like a Captain America. Like, you take a Boy Scout and you put them in a situation where they have to choose between continuing and being a Boy Scout or getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And then you get to see a really interesting character go through that progression too. You can tell both sides and still make it interesting.
Yeah,
they've done it with Captain America a few times.
Yeah. Especially
he's gone
the
against
character
the
has to
government.
really stay, with that mindset, through the whole thing either. So how do you still do the right thing, stay who you are, and come out on the other side without changing?
I mean, like if you're a patriot in America, sometimes you can look at the government as not doing the most patriotic thing. So yeah, they've done that many times. He became U.S. agent one time. For a while, he stopped being Captain America. And Civil War is based on that. Like, the government said, hey man, everyone should register. And everybody thought, well, Captain America is going to go along with it because the government said it. He was like, no, this is wrong. So yeah.
Perfectly explained. Perfectly explained.
And that's because Captain America is what America's supposed to be, not what America thinks it is.
Exactly. That is quite a mic drop quote for sure.
Everybody vote next week. Not gonna tell you who to vote for, but vote for something.
Vote for Captain America.
There you go. Captain America.
Yeah, writing Mickey Mouse is okay if you can't.
That's the interesting thing about that character too, is that he would never run for president because he doesn't think he is smart enough to do anything like that. And that's where that character is so compelling, is that he knows his limits, but he also knows when to put his foot down for things. He's such a well-defined character, especially for that world that they created.
Yeah, Captain America is one of those characters, and I know people have an issue with him, because and I'm like, dude, you gotta like, everybody thinks that writing the good guy is easy, and people say that all the time. That writing the good guy is easy. Writing the pure good guy is easy. I'm like, no. If you're writing the pure good guy, it's really difficult because you have to keep the pure good guy's morals. He can't go against his morals. So his fight is to continue to follow those morals and still do the right thing.
Absolutely. And we encountered that in our story too, with when my brother-in-law, he grew up on 80s action movies. So, he'll write a scene and be like, and then Ray kicks him in the face. And I'm like, why would she kick him in the face? Like, I always have to ask these questions. I'm like, they can't kill this person. Like, she would literally physically would not let that happen. So you have to figure out a way to resolve this conflict without that person dying. And then it's really fun because we have Kit, who is that like Doc Holliday kind of like rogue gunman on the crew, who's just itching to pull their gun and use it. And Ray is but they will never do it unless Ray gives the thumbs up.
Right.
So there's this respect there of this mad dog without a leash on that knows that its owner, in a sense, will protect them and won't let them maul someone to death if they had the opportunity. and it's really fun to like see those two characters kind of duke it out in a way of like, you got Ray, who's the moral upstanding Boy Scout, and you got the Kit, who's the one that just wants to take everyone out because it's just makes life easier if they don't exist, kind of thing. And you get to see them kind of clash in terms of personality on that note.
And all that really comes together. It works really well, and that conflict is what helps you out with that story, because you got to figure all that stuff out. It's the same thing with people and villains, because people, especially nowadays with villains, everybody likes the villain, and I'm like, there's a reason why you like the villain, because the villain was supposed to be a hero. That's usually what happens there. The villain goes down the hero's journey and ends up the villain because he just went the wrong way on the hero's journey. But that's because that's what makes a good villain. Usually, the villain, for the sake of being the villain, is a horrible. Unless they're evil from the get go.
Oh yeah, a character who fails. Oh, what were you saying?
They're never evil from the get go.
Exactly.
Ever.
Never, ever, ever. There's always a reason for the evil. Yeah. And even then, there's still a little itty bitty good in there somewhere. Just somewhere in there.
Because you'll see a writer come out of nowhere and writes the evil character do something good, and then people go, he would never do that. He would never do that. I'm like, well, he was good at one point, so that's still there. Why wouldn't he do one good thing?
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're not born evil. You just, you're made evil. Things
people
happen.
Make you evil.
Yes. So does traffic.
I know those people that make you evil.
yeah. Like playing Overwatch 2 turns me into an evil person. I am not an inherently evil person.
Yeah, people. The older I get, the more I sit here and go, "What the hell is wrong with people?" And when you turn evil on them, then they're like, "Oh my God, this is the way you were the whole time." I'm like, "No, I wasn't like this the whole time. You made me like this."
Oh yeah, I've actually tried to because I told you I have a problem with people not following the rules and like letting stuff go with that.
Yeah,
I've tried to adopt this method of just assuming that every time somebody does something that negatively affects me, it's just their worst day rubbing off on me. And I try not to hold it personally. So if someone cuts me off in traffic, I try not to assume that they are that person all the time. I just assume that it's a really bad day for them. And it makes me feel better for two reasons. One, I know that they're actually a good person and they're just rubbing off on me today in a bad way. And also, if I'm in a bad mood, it makes me feel great to know that they're having a bad day.
No.
Even if they're not actually having a bad day, it just makes me feel better.
It'd be like karma.
Yeah, exactly. And it just helps me get through.
It's hard, but I try to love everybody. Everybody's on their own personal journeys. I just might not like the part sure I'm like down, but I try to love the person. I just I might hope to get past that part and not stay there, but
yeah, that's the art of it, right? It's not staying there.
Yeah, we're all on our journeys, man. Yeah.
I tell my daughter all the time, you're in charge of yourself, and then there'll be times where she'll ask me questions like, yeah, but when this person does this and this person does that, you're still in charge of yourself, because even if that person is doing what they're doing, you're still in charge of what you're doing. So you can respond to what they're doing in whatever different ways you can respond to it. You can make it worse or you can make it better. It's up to you. You're in charge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the best thing you do for anybody is work on yourself. Like the change you want in other people, like do it on yourself. And if you want to, and if they look at you and they say, hey, this person is doing good, whatever, that might help you more than you getting like involved in their life and like involved in their journey. The best thing you do for anybody, just work on yourself. Try to be a better person and be the change that you want in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Oh, this got mushy. I love it.
What kind of stories do you guys like? Yeah. Like what story like really like grabs you?
What story grabs
That's a good
you?
question.
Yeah, like if you're watching a story or reading like the back page of a book, what type of story just absolutely hooks you from the beginning?
I think with
personally,
me,
I'm a history nerd
Shannon.
personally. I like
Sorry, what was
horror, but
that?
I'm like a history nerd.
Oh, history nerd. Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
history will get me too.
I'm stuck for like a year now and Tudor period history.
Good
Because
period.
it's very interesting. But I like the horror genre of things mostly.
I gotta say, I like horror, but it needs to be the horror of the thinking horror, the horror where you learn
The
something. Horror,
suspenseful
yeah,
kind.
exactly. I
Yeah.
hate when it's horror for horror, and then oh, you end the movie and the monster wins, and you're like, okay, the whole was the point.
I don't mind those stories though when the monster wins in a sense, because typically if it's done well, it's because the hero made a vital mistake that has to do with them not overcoming a situation.
That is beautiful what you said, but that's not what happens.
True.
I mean,
True. Like a perfect example, this is an old movie. This movie is like 60 years old, but it's a movie called Don't Look Now. Have you guys watched it before?
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
You have seen it?
I'm not
Oh
sure.
yeah. So it's basic. I'm gonna kind of spoil it, but it's a good movie, and I strongly recommend watching it regardless. The whole part of the movie starts with the main character. He has a vision of his daughter drowning, and then he goes outside and his daughter is drowned. And then from then on, he's grieving with his wife, and he's trying to move past his grief, but he sees visions of his wife grieving across the day, and it looks like she's going to a funeral, and his daughter drowned in a big red coat, and he keeps seeing a big red coat everywhere, but he just keeps repressing the fact that he has grief, and he won't confront it. He doesn't look at his grief. He doesn't try to do anything to move past it. He just puts it away. And then at the end of the movie, he sees a vision of his daughter in a red coat, and he chases after her. And he thinks that this is what he needs to overcome his grief, is to confront it. But it turns out it's not his daughter, and he actually dies. And the visions he's been seeing the whole story are the visions of the future of his wife attending his funeral. And if only he looked at the visions and actually confronted his grief, he would have survived and he would have changed his future. But by not changing as a person and not confronting his grief throughout the whole story, it leads to his ultimate demise. And that is a very beautiful way of the hero losing and also being able to tell a good story.
But that's a good story. I've seen the movie many times, and the whole concept is that you allow your obsession to get carried away with you, and
absolutely.
And that ending is so heartbreaking because he thinks, "Oh, this is my daughter; she's still alive."
Yep.
And when he when he finally gets there, it's an old movie, so I'm going to spoil it.
You're good. Yeah, do your thing.
Right, stab him right in the heart, and I'm like, "Oh,
yeah."
It seems like a complicated way to just tell a basic horror story. Because the basic horror story is, the couple gets away, everything is great, but at the very end, here comes Jason.
Yeah, literally. Throughout the whole story, they build up this serial killer in this town that they've been staying in, but it's just a sub thing. Yeah. And you don't think about it because you're too busy focused on the main characters. And then at the end of the story, the serial killer kills him. And it's same thing. It's like, if you guys actually paid attention to what's going on right here, right now, instead of dwelling on the past and not moving past your grief, you would have noticed that this is a dangerous place and you should have probably left a long time ago. Yeah. But instead you stayed and you got killed for it.
That's a great horror movie. Folks, you should. Even though we kind of spoiled it, we didn't spoil it because it still hits the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 60-year-old movie. Like, watch it. You know what I mean? It's like a Hitchcock film. Like, you gotta watch it. You have to see how the masters started it. Like, it's like I tell everyone, like, if you like exorcism movies, you can't not watch the first Exorcist because it started a genre.
I always say that spoilers don't bother me, and the reason that they don't bother me is when something is good and you're absorbed into the story. Someone could tell you every single thing that happens. You won't be thinking about that. You'll be into the story and you won't remember anything. But when it's something that's bad, then you'll be, oh boy, I know what's gonna happen.
Bad. It's all about
you're
that.
Not into the story. Like, oh boy, you know. So
and I came up with a term. I don't know if there is an actual term that exists for it, but the term that I use is the Achilles fallacy in terms of storytelling that ends in the demise of the main character. Right. Because if you read the Iliad, his mother tells Achilles, if you go to Troy, you will die. Without question, you are going to die, but they will talk about you in 10,000 years from now. But if you don't go, you'll have a beautiful family, you'll grow old, you'll have tons of children, and your memory will fade with those children. And he decides to go, knowing that there is literally no way that he can stop his death. It will happen. He's committed to it, but he can't let go of his ego, and he has to face it and thinks that he can, by some miracle, actually avoid it, even though it's definitely going to happen. And I love stories like that, where all it takes is the character making one different choice, and the whole story changes, but they just can't help themselves.
They got to do it.
Yeah, they have to.
Dude, when you ask the question, the first thing that pops into my head, and it always pops into my head because it just pisses me off, is when I was reading Harry Potter.
Gotcha.
She's writing Harry Potter, and as I progress through the book, I'm like, I don't like this kid. This kid's an asshole.
Yeah, he's a dick.
Yeah, I get to the 5th book, and I'm like, this guy's an asshole. I don't like him. He's not the hero of the book for me. I'm like, Hermione's the hero of the book.
Nice.
Like, oh, how can you say that about Harry Potter? I'm like, dude, he's an asshole.
I mean, the author acknowledges. The author acknowledges that, and this is a critique with the author. She acknowledges that like my problem with Harry Potter is every character is exactly who you think they are the second you meet them, and they stay that way throughout the entire side. She acknowledges it. Yeah, but you know, it's a kid's story, so she got over.
That was my problem. I couldn't handle Harry Potter. I love the books. The books still work well, but Harry as a hero, I just don't see it.
I always say like you know that character Malfoy, who was the bad kid. Like how great would it have been at the very end? Like he changed and did something heroic, did something great. But nope, he stayed the same jerk throughout. The book is even worse. He goes overweight and he gets bald. I'm like, oh come on, man, like you know.
But dude,
but it would have been so great if he would have done a heroic turn. If he would have changed, if we would have seen him.
That's what happened
we didn't really see that.
With Snape, you sit there, you're reading this, and it's so funny because she got upset because people were beginning to like Snape as she was writing him, and she was like, no, you don't know what's gonna happen. I'm like, and she like, I guess she didn't want people to like realize that Snape would end up being a good person in the end. But she was writing Snape really well.
There's a funny thing that happens too. Like sometimes the story's going one way, and people are fixed on how the story's supposed to go, and it's like, huh? Like I saw that. Like, why did Harry Potter get with Hermione? That made perfect sense because, I mean, I'm not sure in the books, but in the characters, those actors had that chemistry. I'm like, why did they get together? But they did. It said, nope, she has to get with him. This is the way it has to be. I'm like,
what's funny is that she said that she almost had Harry and her get together.
Yeah,
she almost went in that direction. And I feel like as you read the books, you kind of feel the chemistry in that direction.
Right.
And I don't know why she decided against it. I was like, okay. See, but that's the writers. That's the whole writers thing. Sometimes you think that you know what's going on, but then you start talking to the writer, and you're like, oh, okay. And I think one of the good things I like about her is that she reveals all that the writer's notes, the stuff we don't get to see that actually helped the story become what it is. Because you know, if you any I know you guys, when you write your stuff, it's the same thing. You got all this stuff that stays in the background that nobody's ever going to know about.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely.
And you sit there with it, and you're like, okay. But I like the fact that she puts it out there, and this is the reason, and then you can see the writer's process the whole time through it. And that's why a lot of people go, "Whoa, she's this and that." I'm like, no, but
I think you always have to be just like water, like go with the flow. Like you can write the character, and you can say this is going to be the ending, but by the time you get there, just pay attention. Sometimes your characters go this way, sometimes your characters that way, and that might change your ending. So, it's best sometimes to just go with the flow and see where things are.
I gotta say, we've gone with the flow because we've gone all over the place today. There's a lot of good geeking out.
Absolutely. Actually, I do love that question though too. When you guys write a story, do you have a firm ending in mind, or like is it like it can change slightly, but this is definitely how it ends, or do you guys have a more liquid kind of ending?
For me, I feel like it depends on the story in itself. I feel like it really just, for me personally, it just depends.
For me, well, like fan fiction days, the ending will be the ending, but there are a lot of aspects of it that will change as you go along the way, but the ending will be the ending, just for me. But
Gotcha.
there are aspects of it that will change throughout, and it might not be the same exact ending. The ending might change up in some ways, but more or less it's the same. The good guys win, yay! As a bad example, but I lost it all. But it was like, well,
I think with me, it's a thing. Like if because most of the times I don't have an ending. Most of the times I'm trying to figure out what the hell the ending is. So everything's flowing to figure that out. If I start with an ending, then I'm trying to figure out how that ending happened. So most of the times the ending will stay the same. But like Tony's saying though, there's aspects of the ending that will change. There's things that maybe the ending itself doesn't change, but what surrounds the ending starts to like formulate and form into something else.
Like once like the hero's supposed to win and save the city, but somewhere along the line, hell became a factor, and then we see people in hell. So things like that happen. So like I didn't think of that while I was writing, but that's something that came up. So things like that happen. Yeah.
Huh. No, I like the perspective. I love asking people not how they write, because there's really no specific way to write. I like asking people how they conceive stories, because that's the really interesting way. Is like, how do you map out how your story starts and ends? How do you come up with the concept? What is your like mission with that story in a sense? Like those are the questions I really like.
It's funny you say that, John, because I'm reworking the set, but usually I have this whiteboard back here that has this thing that we were working on called.
Did the Corey die? Is the Corey?
So it's let's write a story together, and they threw a bunch of stuff at me, and and then I start to craft the story and put it together. And what Tony's talking about is the fact that they threw a corgi in there as a joke. And then the corgi became this bigger thing, and they're like, "Oh my god, it was a joke! Let him die."
He's finally dead. I don't see the board. We got
him. Amazing.
But in that sense, I have no idea what the hell's going on, because I just have bits and pieces of a puzzle. And then I got to figure out how the puzzle goes together. And as you put the puzzle together, then you go, "Oh, this is where it's going." And then the ending is kind of like floating out there, because it's an ending, but at the same time, you still don't have all the bits and pieces. So how do you get to that ending, or is that the ending you're going to get to?
Yeah, I like that.
I love doing that. I love challenging. Oh, dude, one of my favorite things, especially when I started the Writ, was to have people just throw things at me, and then I'll sit there and write a story from it.
Oh, that's the best. That's honestly, like, I love those like writing prompts. Yeah. That was my favorite thing in high school. Was it'd be like, write. It has to be 7 pages. Has to involve a ceiling fan. Like whatever. Like, go for it. It has to involve a Craigslist ad for a guitar. Like something ridiculous like that. Like so specific. Those are my favorite.
My experience was the kid who wrote 4 pages and did none of that stuff. Got the pen.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, I hated that when they when you get in your creative writing class and your teacher will be like, "Oh my god, this guy's great." I'm like, he didn't do anything you told him to do.
Yeah.
And then when
But
you do it, right? And then when you do it, your teacher goes, "You didn't do anything I told you to do." I'm like, "Yeah, but you gave him props for doing that."
but it's all subjective. I mean, it could be those 4 pages could be like the greatest story of all time. I mean, it's so subjective to the teacher anyway. It's so subjective,
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
that was that. Those classes made me fall in love with the concept of storytelling because,
Yeah.
like, I always liked telling stories when I was a kid, but the actual act of like writing a story and presenting it to somebody was kind of foreign to me.
Mhm.
Like, I went to school at a place where like we didn't have computers at home. You know what I mean? Like my mom had a laptop and occasionally we shared it, but like there wasn't like a home PC and stuff like that. And the computer lab at school was pretty outdated even before I got there and like that kind of thing. So like the concept of typing up a story and presenting it, it was super foreign. But it was really fun and that really made me fall in love with it.
Definitely. So Shannon,
Yes.
I think you should tell the people all the good stuff about you again because I know you're the ghost host or the hostess with the ghostess, but let the people know all the good stuff, and I'll put it up as you talk about
Okay. I am the Queen of Darkness, a dream within a scream, Shannon Michele Collins, Paraflixx's horror hostess with the ghostess. I am an automatic writer and medium channeler with Long Island Paranormal Investigators. I'm on the cast of Dark Echoes Paranormal. You can find that on Paraflixx Paranormal Plus as well as Amazon Prime. I am a gothic model, a dark poet and author, and I don't know. I'm also a barber. Um, I once worked at
Awesome.
Old Navy. And Blockbuster. But anyway, you can
it.
find me
Oh,
on Instagram at a dream underscore within a scream. And on Facebook at Velma Von Dinkenstein,
I love that.
the Queen of Darkness. TikTok's the same as Instagram.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Dreamwithinascream.com. That's a lot. That's too much. I feel too much. I
every
have
once in a
to
while,
shorten
Shannon's like,
that.
"Oh, Ralph," I'm like, "No, you do a lot." I don't even know how Shannon has time to do half the stuff that she does. Dude, as a writer, I don't see how you can write.
Oh, I have my moments. I usually will write in the dark places after
What was
hours.
your most recent moment? Like what did you write in that moment and what were you feeling?
Good
It was a
question.
poem called "It Must Have Been Murder."
Ooh.
I love it.
Yes, yes, um, yes. I don't have it memorized. I don't have any of my poems memorized, but it
Don't
was
worry
a
about
pretty
it,
good
Shannon.
poem. I did
I
like
have
that
none
one.
of my poems memorized.
I did like that one. I
I
think I
like
have
the
it
title of
posted
it.
somewhere.
I like when Shannon also reads her poems, and it's fantastic to
Yeah.
hear her read them.
That's me. I fit in my suitcase, we found out. Yeah, I'm travel size.
That sounds like a horror moment. It's like I fit in my suitcase. Oh
Yes.
man.
Oh, that was Wisconsin. I had so much fun. Everybody should go there. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Look at how
she
beautiful that
travels a
is.
lot.
That's so pretty. And they have good cheese.
Of
I
course
met the
they do.
nicest people. I really did meet the nicest people. There they all are, all of them.
Is that
I
chick?
don't know who they. But it was just such a good time, and like I don't know, I actually miss it. It was fun. Everybody should go there at least once. Tulando Lakes, Wisconsin.
It's on the list. All right, you said
Yes.
you're a paranormal researcher in Long Island as well.
Yeah, I'm a paranormal investigator on Long Island. Yes.
Nice. I actually, my first job at a high school, I was an assistant to a paranormal investigator in Southeast Ohio.
Whoa.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was wild. We went to forget the name of it. It's the prison in Southeast Ohio where they filmed Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, I
It's
know.
Is that
a
Ohio State Reformatory?
There you go.
yes, thank you. It is one of the most haunted places in the state by far. We also did some research on some highways where a lot of people passed away. Like there's just some really deadly roads from the 70s and 80s in Ohio where people died. And the theory is that you can go there and see the crash again in like a spiritual way.
That's
It's
sad.
yeah, it's super sad.
Do you have Mothman over there in Ohio?
Mothman, I don't think I've heard any tale of Mothman in our area. We really haven't had a lot of like horrific disasters,
Right.
except like tornadoes. But Mothman's mostly like man-made disasters, right? If I'm not correct.
I think
Well,
so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like bridges collapsing and buildings catching on fire and stuff like that.
Well, lately a lot of people are seeing it. Unsolved Mysteries, they did a whole episode on it recently, but lately a lot of people are seeing it and it's not connected to a disaster. So
Dang, interesting. I'll have to look back into Mothman. I'm just so used to killing him and Fallout.
I don't know, man. I saw Mothman
all we have is
and
a pizza
a
right
pocket suit, and he's cute and he has butt. So after that,
What happened? I feel like everybody just spoke at once, and I have no idea what anyone said.
I was saying that after I saw Mothman at a pocket suit, where he's cute and fuzzy and has a little cute little butt, I can't see him the same way.
Nice. Incredible.
It's a great stuff. You guys should go check it out.
It's cute.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like we all were talking there for. You were saying
that picture was taken at Kings Park Asylum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they let
It's so
me out for
funny.
the day.
It's so funny because some of the pictures you take, I'm like, the area looks really nice, but the back of my brain is going, no.
Oh. That's like a lot of people don't realize. Like the majority of places that I shoot outside a studio are proclaimed to be haunted.
Interesting.
I can usually catch the
vibe.
energy in your pictures.
Yeah, sometimes I look like a total creeper. Oh, like right there.
I'll definitely say I don't know if you've been to one yet, but if you're interested in doing some research, definitely go to a Civil War battleground. You'll feel a vibe, that's for certain.
Oh, yes.
I've never really been a quote unquote believer, I guess, but I can say I can attest to vibes in a location.
Mm-hmm.
And there's places I go where I get horribly depressed, and then the second I leave, I feel great. And then it's just like this vibe that like hovers over these areas is just outrageous, and it makes you feel terrible.
That's how I feel like about Gettysburg Gettysburg, or however you say. As beautiful as it is, and as nice as the town is and the people are, it just has, for me personally, a very somber energy.
Absolutely. And I don't think it'll ever go away.
No,
people get recordings from those places all the time. So
you hear so many people that go there and they feel that they are talking to a tour guide or somebody who just might be in costume, and they find out that no, there were no reenactors or tour guides in that area. And I think that's really interesting because it comes from so many people from so many different areas all around, and it's usually people that you don't think would be BSing you. You know what I mean? Like you could see it in their face when they're telling you that it frightened them or weirded them out.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone is honest about that stuff, but you could tell that the people that are,
Oh, absolutely. Like the story that got me interested in that kind of stuff, it was a movie theater I worked at that was built on a old highway that ran through Ohio, and then they changed the highway and then built the mall, the shopping mall that the movie theater was in on that highway.
Mhm.
And in the movie theater, I didn't see it, so all I can attest to is the people who did see it. They claimed that in one of the movie theaters there was this old man who just sat in the front row, and while the credits were rolling. And the rule is you can't start cleaning until everybody leaves. So they just kept checking. And then they're like, this guy's not leaving. And then eventually they go in and he's not there anymore. And he was just this old guy just sitting there the whole time. Credits are done. There's only one way out, and he didn't come out that way. And they're like, where did this guy go? They searched for him for 10 minutes. Come to find out weeks later that a grandfather and a granddaughter died in a car accident on that road before the mall was built. And apparently there were reports that you could hear the little granddaughter running around the camera room upstairs, which is terrifying to think about.
That is scary. And I feel like for me personally, like I've been with my group for just over 13 years. And I feel like that's like some of the saddest evidence that we have gotten would be like a small child asking for their mom, or but the laugh is just creepy. I don't care. It's creepy.
Oh yeah. Super
but
creepy.
Yeah, that always makes me sad.
People say that children laughing is cute, but if children laugh at the wrong time, it's not cute anymore.
Absolutely.
It's not cute when it's on your audio and you're in like the deep woods and like it's you and one other person, and all of a sudden you're listening back and you're like, oh, okay. Why is there a baby giggling in the woods?
Oh man, yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Like I was a camp counselor in Camp Ohio for a long time, and there's some stuff in there that, again, I've never attest to being a believer, but vibes and things you see in the forest at night, man, they're weird. Like I get why people are so superstitious, because like your eyes really can play some tricks on you, especially when it's 1 a.m. in the middle of a forest in central Ohio
with no lights.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I swear I saw an old woman walking towards me one night when I was just in the middle of the woods, and she just kept walking towards me, and from far away, but I could see her clear as day, but she just wasn't there. But I swear I saw her. It's just unbelievable. I don't know how to explain it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then again, you go into a lit area and there's just nothing there.
Nope. Sometimes there is something there though in the lit area, which makes it even worse.
Yeah. Oh, that's when the poop flows. Just nothing but poop coming out.
Oh, poop.
Yeah.
It's fun to poop.
Yeah, if you ever get the chance, go to Antietam. That's quite a vibe.
Yes, I've been.
You've been? Oh man,
Yes.
How was it?
It was ookie spooky.
Ookie spooky.
Yeah, it's got the sad vibes. It's
similar. For sure.
Not exactly the same as Gettysburg. I feel like Antietam, for me, had a lot more of like a more anxious and a little angrier of a vibe, but.
Oh yeah, especially around the hospital area. There's I don't know if you two know, but there's this like 3-story house that was converted into a hospital after the battle, and like hundreds of men died in that house from their wounds after the battle took place, and it's just the most depressing, dour place I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah. Those places are rough to do. Fort William Henry was very hard, as a sensitive to do. It makes you very sick for some reason. But that's also like a hard one. I don't know. Certain ones hit me differently. I think it depends on whatever I'm going through in life right there. Oh, that stupid filter.
Don't we all have a little bit of that? Like sometimes you'll just go to a place or visit a country or whatever, and just not feeling it. Like just
Oh,
you're just
definitely.
yeah, or just go to some area and you're just like there's for whatever reason it just doesn't click with you, and then you go to another place that you've never been in, and like wow, this is like this is the best place ever. Like I think
Yeah.
places like just like people they have, or like sometimes sometimes you'll be at a party and just one person walks in the room and that one person changes the entire energy of the whole room.
Definitely.
And I
Oh
think
yeah.
we all feel on a on a little bit on a certain level, like places people all have energy.
Yep.
We all feel a
That's for
little bit
sure.
like yeah.
Hey,
Like
guess what?
sometimes
If you're into ooky spooky things and you want to be scared and poop your pants, keep the poop
Oh,
flowing, why don't you go to Paraflixx.com?
there you go.
Subscribe to Paraflixx.com. You could use my code QOD30 for 30% off your annual subscription. It's actually a really good price. There's a bunch of different kinds of shows. And what I like is that they give it is not like all of the big names, but it is good, great shows. Plus, you'll find me on there.
And like I've said before, like a lot of the shows are disappearing from the regular networks. So it's
They're
good to
really
find a
cool.
place, to actually see this stuff now.
I really like it. I really do. I wouldn't promote it if I didn't like it. So I do love it. And to know a lot of the people, or to get to know a lot of the people that are on those shows, they're really great lovelies. They are my cousins now.
That's how the community should be. Everybody supports and helps each other out.
Yes.
All the communities should be that way.
They should.
Yeah. So folks, go
They
check it out.
should. Oh my god, I look so scary when I do that.
They
Sorry, I
should
won't
said
do
it.
that
They
again.
should.
I looked scarier than I expected. I kind of scared myself.
Oh
Yikes.
man, folks, as you can see, the Queen of Darkness here is a lot of fun and very introspective and a bunch of good things. So go check her out in all the places you can check her out.
Thanks. Aw, that's a love thing. Wait, will it do it? Will it do it? It did it! Yay!
There it goes.
Very philosophical, Jason, today. I'm sorry.
I gotta say, man, Jason, you've been heartfelt.
Yeah. Yeah, I go back to murdering tomorrow.
Wait, tomorrow's November 1st. You're supposed to take a break. Oh man. So John, why don't you remind the people all the good stuff so they can go check you out? If John is
and
there.
you're muted.
There you go.
No, I'm sorry. My headset disconnected partway through that. So, I'm sorry if the audio sucks now.
Oh no, it actually sounds good.
It sounds good. Okay, perfect. No, I'm John. I'm the owner of No Dress Code / ndc.exe. We're an original anime clothing and apparel brand, and we also create all of our characters in-house, and we've got a manga in the works, and we self-produce our own animation.
That book that I got at Anime NYC, that was the preview to it, right?
Yes, sir. That is a teaser. We're actively working on the full 170-page volume right now. The story is finished for that chapter, I should say, and it's unfortunately going to be all me doing the art, so it's going to take a hot minute. But I've got all my references and everything good to go, and I've just been pounding out the pages.
That's all you can do is just keep going, keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's honestly, people ask me that all the time. They're like, how did you pull that off? I was like, you just got to do it. It's just same thing like eating right and exercising. It's just got to be a part of your life.
That's the same thing with
I
writing.
love cucumbers. They taste good. I like them with ranch dressing. And that's
the only way to eat them.
Cucumbers and ranch is pretty good.
Yeah, and carrots with ranch dressing as well. It's a nice little healthy snack.
It sounds like you just like ranch dressing.
No, because sometimes I don't like that one. I have to be in the mood for it.
I gotcha.
Sometimes I like Thousand Island.
Oh, have you ever had a soy sauce balsamic vinaigrette?
I think
That's
so,
the
and
good
I think I
stuff.
did like that too.
It's
That,
amazing.
that's what I use, boss. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if
I
you can get
cannot
a
say that
ginger
word.
soy sauce balsamic vinaigrette, that's the ticket.
I like the ginger. That always tastes pretty good, and it's good for your stomach. So
I love ginger.
yeah,
It's
I
like
want
how these Japanese grandfathers grow up to be 110 years old. It's that
you're
ginger.
eating the ginger. That's why.
I do want to go to Hibachi when I get home.
Nice.
I think we're all getting hungry now.
Yeah,
Oh man.
I
So
usually want cheese. What happened? I'm sorry, people.
cheese is always a great one.
I
You
love
guys
cheese.
didn't eat enough candy because I can't.
I did not
Can't.
get one candy.
Wow.
Just
You didn't get a
one.
candy for
Not even.
Thanksgiving. Trick or treat.
Why don't we go out? I'm gonna go to my neighbor's houses this year for Thanksgiving with the plate and be like, "Give me a scoop of your best stuff."
Nice.
Hey, when I was
By
a kid,
order of household.
exactly. When I was a
Thank
kid,
you.
what I would do is I would go from house to house on Thanksgiving and gorge at each house. So it was like trick or treating. It was like, hi,
You
it's
just
me, Ralph.
roll.
It's
Just
Thanksgiving.
get one of those things that you can, like those inflatable ball things that you can roll yourself down around in. That way you don't have to worry about walking,
Oh,
and you can just be comfy
I wish I could
and
eat half the
happy.
way that I ate when I was a kid. Just half of it.
I
Oh.
I want mashed potatoes too. I need to find food.
I was gonna say, Shannon, I think you're hungry.
I think
How
I
long have you
am.
been there?
I think I might be hungry. Yes. Candies.
How long have you been there? It sounds like you need a lunch at least.
No.
Oh, we chose a little earlier because I know for a fact that Chinese restaurant they will come right to your car.
That's true.
But it's a little too late now. So.
There goes Rob Longo saying Happy Halloween. It's
Happy
dinner
Halloween.
time. Rob was actually doing the premiere of his redone The Husband horror movie up over on YouTube at 10 o'clock. Yeah. I think we missed the whole thing because it started at 10. Yeah, look, it's 12 o'clock.
Whoops.
It's November 1st, folks.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
November.
I feel like I missed it. Can we start over?
Yeah, let's just start over.
Hey,
it's the Thanksgiving podcast.
Remember, the holiday is 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd.
Right?
Yeah, the whole holiday is the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd.
Right. So it's still.
It's still there.
Here.
Yeah.
It's now November 1st.
There goes my daughter saying that it's now November 1st. She doesn't have school tomorrow, so she's like, woohoo!
Nice. Well, I, for one, had an amazing time hanging out with you guys.
Oh, it's been a blast. That's why we're still here.
Absolutely.
Usually we'd be finished by now.
Yeah.
No, never.
Well,
let's just set a record for the longest recorded podcast.
Okay, it was nice talking to y'all.
Rob Longo says you summoned me when you said food and mashed potatoes.
Oh, I love, you know what else I love? Apple pie.
Oh, good apple pie. It has to be a good apple pie.
I make apple pie. Wicked
I have
good
too many bad apple pies.
And I make one
bad apple pies.
No, I make it so good, and I make big sizes, and then I make individual sizes, little itty bitty mini pies.
I like
How
those
cute.
mini pies.
How cute! Thank you, Pampered Chef, for my little pie tray that I had to pay $1,000 for. Psychopaths, but they do have really cool stuff. It's just like, Jesus, how much do you want me to spend?
They want you to spend all your money.
I don't have any left. I spent it all on this stupid pie tray. But it works really well, and it's turquoise.
Nice.
They have it, folks. We have covered everything today: food, geeking, writing,
Poop.
yeah, even poop.
Ghosts.
Covered poop. I mean, we're not covered in it.
Yeah. Speak for yourself.
The night is young.
Oh no!
Am I?
All right, folks.
This was fun.
Yes.
What's this? Rob Longo says, "What's the quote from True Romance about pie and movies?" I don't know. But if you
I
figure it
need
out,
to
let us
go
know.
crawl back into my cave.
Don't worry about it. We are going, folks. It is the 1:30 mark. It's time to go. You've heard these people. I've put all the good stuff into the comment section. Go check them out. Go press the buttons. Go join Paraflixx and get all spooked out. Go check out this book. Go check out this video because I'm looking forward to it because what I've seen so far looks really good.
Me too.
John.
I want to see it. You too can do hearts.
Exactly. Well, I'm not on my phone. On the phone, you can do the hearts. Over here on the computer, no. You gotta love iPhone.
I do, but I hate it. It's literally like the devil.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, there you have it, folks. Hope your Halloween was beautiful. Hope you got some great candy from your trick or treating, and I hope you guys are ready for turkey gobble gobble.
Send me your orange starbursts if you don't want them, and I'll take the yellows too.
There you go, folks. Now you know where to take with Sunday stuff.
Yeah.
With that, I will do what I always do on the show. I'll press the button, and where it stops,